So as this show is being recorded, the Academy Awards are ongoing. I know that F1 won for Best Sound, and good for them. It's not going to win Best Picture, so I'm not really worried about that. I don't know whether Come See Me in the Good Light has won for Best Documentary or not, because I don't know if they've announced that yet, because did I mention, as I record this, the Academy Awards are happening. Remember, whoever, it is an honor just to be nominated. We'll catch up on awards next time.
This is Mac OS Ken.
I'll eat my hat if F1 wins the Academy Award. It can't, can it? It can't. For Best Picture, it can't. Anyway, updates on MacBook Neo, App Store commissions drop in China, and 2 or maybe 1 story on Apple and AI. It is Monday, the 16th of March, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Clean My Mac. Use code macOSKen20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by NordLayer, a toggle-ready network security platform built for today's business. There's a pretty good chance you've used Nord's consumer product. They've helped folks surf safely with their VPN for years. Now they're focusing on keeping your small to mid-sized business safe with NordLayer. They do the VPN thing for business, along with access control, making sure people who shouldn't get into your systems don't, and threat protection, making sure threats that shouldn't get at your people don't. All of that in one easy-to-use platform with no huge setup and no new hardware. Additionally, they partnered with CrowdStrike to bring Falcon endpoint protection to your business. That is enterprise-grade security made simple for businesses as small as a few people to crews of 100 people or more. They've got special pricing for those bigger teams and a special offer for you. Get up to 22% off NordLayer yearly plans plus 10% on top with offer code macOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. Try it risk-free with their 14-day money-back guarantee. NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. I had said we would check on MacBook Neo availability today, so why don't we? Don't we? Huh? Sunday, the 15th of March, just after noon, Silver was shipping tomorrow, Tuesday, the 17th of March, and was available for in-store pickup in my area. That's for both the 256GB model and the 512 with Touch ID. Quite the wait for Blush. Ordering yesterday would have had the machine shipping to me between the 31st of March and the 7th of April. Ordering for in-store pickup would have had me waiting until the 7th of April. That was for both the 256 and the 512GB models. Same goes for the Citrus model. My beautiful art machine, which I totally want to mess up, is shipping between the 31st of March and the 7th of April, or would have had I ordered one yesterday. In-store pickup not available until the 7th of April. That is for both the 256 and 512. Go more pedestrian, find more availability. Indigo ships tomorrow, or would have if blah 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 blah. Could have landed on my front porch or been picked up in-store tomorrow, the 17th of March. That was for both the 256 and 512GB models. Now the drag is, we still don't know what any of that means. I mean, does the general public only want pink or yellow, or are the die-hard Apple fans going with the relatively rare colors? I said go pedestrian, find more availability when talking about the Indigo, but to be clear, I kind of like the Indigo. I'm working right now on a midnight, aka dark blue, MacBook Air. The thing is, though, Apple has plenty of silver and blue MacBooks available across its entire range. What they have less of is pink and yellow. So are the delays on those machines from switchers, or are they from people saying, look, I don't even need another Mac, but it's so pretty. I can tell you I have one friend who is considering switching, and I had nothing to do with it. A friend of ours was talking about needing a new computer, and the special lady friend started talking to her about MacBook Neo. She has never used a Mac, but she is considering it. It's been a long time since I've had a switcher in my life. Not looking forward to the frustrated calls for help, but they really only last about a week. Anyway, if you just need a new computer and love, or are simply fine with silver or blue, MacBook Neo seems to be readily available. Apple MOSK ran a piece at the end of last week with some interesting Apple news. According to that, then, the #1 bestseller on Amazon's computer list in the US was MacBook Neo, while Apple's low-cost laptop was #3 on the list in the UK. That prompted me to check again on Sunday. In the UK, MacBook Neo seemed to already be off Amazon's computers and accessories top 50, though it was still holding the top spot in the US on Sunday. One thing I found pretty funny about the Amazon list, the second best-selling thing on the list in the US was an Anker USB-C hub with a few different expansion ports. I'm not saying one definitely has to do with the other, but with only 2 USB-C ports, or one if you're trying to power the thing while you're using it, it wouldn't surprise me if a spike in hub sales was tied directly to Apple's low-cost laptop. Now, if you want to know about deliveries from Amazon, you feel free to go down that rabbit hole. There was no discernible trend that I spotted. Some ship tomorrow, some say they won't come until the end of April. Doesn't seem to be governed by color nor capacity. Expected deliveries through Amazon just kind of seem to be all over the calendar. Why do I keep checking other sites? You know how it is. Once you start, it's hard to stop. B&H Photo only seems to have one model on hand. The 512GB Indigo shows is in stock with free 2-day shipping. Walmart and Target are also all over the calendar. Target seemed to have more available for in-store pickup than they did for timely delivery. For its part, Walmart shows 512GB models as unavailable in blush and citrus, with the rest apparently shipping this week. Well, we heard about ease of MacBook Neo repair last week from YouTube channel Tech Renew. The first, last, and middle name in device repairability tends to be iFixit. Mac Rumors wrote up their teardown of Apple's low-cost laptop, and they seem stoked. We haven't been as happy about a MacBook since 2012, said iFixit. I said last week that the thing is held together by standard screws. Yeah, I meant standard for getting into and out of Apple computers. They're pentalobe, not as standard as Philips or slotted, but not unheard of. iFixit isn't a fan of the pentalobe thing, but it is what it is and has been for quite some time. That said, the Neo models are suspiciously easy to get into, according to iFixit. That opens onto an internal layout that is said by the self-repair people to be shockingly sensible. Perhaps the biggest internal win, the battery. No adhesive, according to the piece. In this relatively easy-to-open case, the battery is screwed in, so it's simple to remove it for repair or replacement. RAM and SSD are soldered to the A18 Pro chip. That is lame, in iFixit's opinion, since it diminishes repairability and upgradability. Overall, though, there's a lot to like, according to iFixit. They give MacBook Neo a repairability score of 6 out of 10, better than the M4 MacBook Air's 5 out of 10, which is better than the M5 14-inch MacBook Pro's 4 out of 10. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Clean My Mac, cleaning Macs since 2008. There's a pretty good chance your Mac needs a good cleaning. Not talking about emptying the trash bin or clearing off your desktop. Macs get filled with all kinds of stuff we don't even notice. Files, cookies, parts left over from installations. Applications hide bits of themselves in places we would never think to look if we even knew how. Let Clean My Mac take care of it. It starts by cleaning your Mac, getting rid of unneeded system files, hidden clutter, broken downloads, and other cruft. But it does more than clean, scanning for threats, updating apps. It's a pretty sweet suite of tools. Want to know how much time and space you're saving? My Activity is for you. It shows how much space you've reclaimed and how much manual effort you've avoided, putting metrics to Clean My Mac's cleaning. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use my code MacOSKen20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/MacOSKen. Make MacOSKen all caps in both cases. That way they know where you heard about it and you get the discount. Try 7 days free and use my code MacOSKen20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/MacOSKen. Again, MacOSKen is all caps, both places. Use code MacOSKen20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/MacOSKen. Commissions in Apple's App Store have dropped a bit in China. The Wall Street Journal ran a piece late last week that had the Cupertino company dropping top-line commissions on digital sales from 30% to 25%, while commissions paid to smaller developers and on some subscriptions are dropping from 15% to 12%. Actually, I should have said have dropped instead of are dropping. The changes were meant to go into effect on Sunday. The piece says the move follows discussions between Apple and regulators in the Middle Kingdom. While a Shanghai court in 2024 dismissed charges that Apple had abused its market position in relation to App Store fees, the court did label Apple a dominant player. With that case on appeal, and with regulators eyeing Apple more closely amid standoffs between the Cupertino company and Chinese tech giants like Tencent, the commission change is seen by the Journal as an attempt to defuse a brewing regulatory showdown. As the piece points out, though, the new commissions are not as low as in jurisdictions where regulators have gotten more actively involved. Everybody borrows and builds from everybody, I guess. There was an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal on Sunday, the 15th of March, under the headline, Apple's cheap AI bet could pay off big. Written by the founder and CEO of Girion Investments, Daniel Arbus, the first half of the piece seems to follow a piece from Asymco, posted 5 days earlier on the 10th of March, beat for beat. The thing is, the Asymco piece, called The Most Brilliant Move in Corporate History, written by Horace Didier, says it was based on tweets by Milk Road AI. I really do feel like Arbus used tracing paper over Didier's piece, though, without giving credit. Anyway, they both talk about how Apple not spending big on AI development may be, or may have been, the smartest thing ever. To be clear, Apple has spent a lot of money on AI development by mortal standards, but AI investment is measured against what Didier calls hyperscalers. According to him, Amazon is spending $200 billion I'm sorry. Amazon is spending $200 billion this year on AI data centers. Google, $185 billion. Microsoft, $114 billion. Meta, $135 billion. Combined, $650 billion. And that's not including OpenAI, Anthropic, and SpaceXXAI. That is like buying the U.S. Navy every year, according to Didier. And yet Apple's capital budget is still a modest $14 billion. Andy points out that $14 billion isn't all being spent on AI. Spending by the hyperscalers goes from sounding crazy to sounding criminally insane, though. Quoting Didier again, the hyperscalers are now spending 94% of their operating cash flow on AI infrastructure. Amazon is projected to go negative free cash flow this year with as much as $28 billion in the red. Alphabet's free cash flow is expected to collapse 90% from $73 billion to $8 billion. These companies used to be the greatest cash machines ever built. Now they're borrowing money to keep the data center lights on. And it is unclear that it's going to pay off. Didier says AI services generate roughly $35 billion in total revenue, or 5% of what's being spent on infrastructure. There are dreams of more, of course, but the business models of AI have yet to resonate, especially for consumers. So how is Apple not being left in the dust? Check your laptop, your desktop, and/or your pocket. Edge AI is the answer. The journal piece sings the processing praises of last October's M5 Apple Silicon. With a neural accelerator in every GPU core, the journal says Apple's own benchmark showed the M5 running a 30 billion parameter model capable of drafting legal briefs, debugging code, synthesizing research in under 3 seconds on a standard MacBook Pro. 18 gigabytes of memory, no internet, no subscription, no API key. The trick is an architectural advance called Mixture of Experts. The model carries 30 billion parameters, but fires only 3 billion per query. With 2.5 billion active devices prowling the planet, the journal piece says Apple has already distributed its existing data center, one device at a time, into the pockets and onto the desks of a quarter of the world's connected population. Again, though, this seems to borrow heavily from Didier, who 5 days earlier posted, Apple turned 2 billion devices into the data center. Every iPhone, Mac, iPad gets distributed AI at a scale no server farm can match. While its rivals burn cash, Apple is doing the opposite. The thinking is our devices should be able to do a lot of what we want AI to do, assuming we want it to do anything. For heavier loads, there are Apple's partnerships like the original Apple Intelligence deal with OpenAI or the smarter Siri deal announced between Apple and Google. For the latter, the Cupertino company is expected to pay Google about $1 billion a year, which is a fraction of what Google is spending on infrastructure this year. And if Google's terms become untenable, or if better models come along, Apple could pay somebody else that billion. As the journal piece puts it, Apple isn't spending less on AI out of ignorance. It is spending less out of conviction that AI models will commoditize and shrink, that existing product lines will absorb the workloads the cloud was built to serve, and that the durable franchise belongs to whoever owns the customer. No company on earth owns more customers than Apple. Or as Didier put it 5 days earlier, Apple didn't miss the AI revolution. It just bet that the winners won't be the ones who build the infrastructure. They'll be the ones who own the customer, and no one else on earth owns the best customers. First of all, could we not refer to companies as owning people. And second, I sent an email to the similarities are just too similar to be comfortable. Everybody borrows and builds, but cite your sources, man. Come on. And finally today, we know what had Apple Grand Central in New York shut down late last week. The Cupertino company issued a press release on Friday announcing 50th anniversary celebrations around the world. The first of those closed Apple Grand Central for a couple of days as the location prepared for and hosted a special performance by Grammy award-winning artist and producer Alicia Keys. And that is just the beginning. Throughout the month, Apple says the company is commemorating the 50th anniversary of its founding around the world. Each gathering highlights human creativity and ingenuity in action and showcases the remarkable things people can do when they have the right Apple products in their hands. Are they all going to be surprises, though? Because, if you're having a party, people might want to go, which might require telling them about it. But you do you. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by Clean My Mac. Try 7 days free and use my code macOSKen20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOSKen at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macOSKen.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.